Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. We're down here. It's actually Saturday, so it's the weekend, and we're gonna move some people actually. So, I know that we talked previously about like maybe doing a mini brumation, and today is that day. So, we're actually gonna do a mini brumation. So, we're gonna go ahead and get these guys moved out of here into the brumation room. Alright, so we have this rack right here, and we've got this rack right here. Anyway, this rack actually has some 4-year-olds in it, and this rack has a lot of 3-year-olds in it, mostly. Anyways, but these guys are all pretty much up to size, so, I mean, she's definitely big enough to produce, and so, the thing is that I worry sometimes with these girls especially that are big enough to produce, but haven't before, so I usually don't, I don't cycle them until after they've probably produced for the first time, even when they're up to size. So she's a 4-year-old, but she wasn't really big enough last year. I didn't even try her last breeding season as a 3-year-old, so I waited longer, but she's 4 years old, which means that she's plenty old enough, mature enough to produce, and she's big enough, and she could get bigger, and that would be good too, but, I mean, these guys are obviously big enough and old enough, and so I just worry that if I don't, cycle them and actually attempt to breed them, that they're just gonna, cycle anyway, and just lay slugs, and most of the time that's actually worse. So, anyways, I'm gonna put down some of these guys.
Maybe explain why you didn't put them down with all the other adults.
Yeah, so for these guys, this is that albino Ocean County Northern Pine, and she's only a 3-year-old, but she might actually produce this year. She's big enough, I'm worried she might ovulate. So, anyways, so anyway, I didn't put these guys down back in October because I wanted them to continue getting a few more meals and growing, and so my plan originally was to actually keep them out the whole time. And then we would just see if some of them want to maybe produce after all. But I decided, a week ago? 2 weeks ago? Recently.
Yeah.
That I could just do a mini brumation maybe, and they might actually be able to cycle still and produce. And so they actually got, another 3 months worth of food essentially. Which helped some of these guys actually, really put on some more size. And now that they haven't eaten for a couple weeks, and I unplugged them, so they've already cooled down even more, so they're not on heat, and now they're ready to get moved. So we're going to move them in there for the last 3 weeks of brumation, because there's 3 more weeks before we pull everybody out. We'll be pulling everybody out, what's that weekend? The 14th and 15th of February?
Yeah, like Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's like mid-February, so we'll pull them out that weekend. So it's about 3 weeks from today, which should be long enough time for them to get cold enough and cycle, which I think will actually be perfect. Because if you think about it, the natural cycle of like winter in some states, like it might only be like freezing temperatures for that long. So that's actually probably pretty accurate for some locations. But anyways, so I'm trying it out. We're going to see if it's going to work. I might not push all of these guys to actually produce still this year, because some of them are still kind of young and I'm not totally sure. But a couple of these males are also males that I want to hopefully breed. I hope the leucisticus might produce those pines, right? We've looked at those. They were in the last video, weren't they? The Florida pine video?
In the recent one, yeah.
Yeah. But like this guy right here, this is an axanthic patternless, and so I really need him to also be able to produce this year.
He's like super light.
Yeah, he's like way different looking than my other adult axanthic patternless, which is really interesting. This is Balam line, but I don't know what the huge difference is there. I know that there is variability, obviously, but we also found out that there is possibly hypos throughout these, some of my axanthic patternless. So I don't know that he is hypo, but he's probably hypo. least I think he might be. But anyways, like him.
He's also het white side, right?
Yeah, he's het white side. For sure. So he'd be a great male. Oh, this is one of my other males who might carry some interesting lineage. We're going to find out. And so it'd be great to maybe see if I could get something out of him to see if we can replicate some stuff that I kind of have in the works. This is that raspberry male. He's in the blue right now, but you can still tell he has a lot of light color, even when he's in the blue. So anyway, I'm planning on using this guy and seeing if we can reproduce that kind of stuff there. And I have some other males down here. These other two. This is a Kingsville. He's pretty red. He's redder than my original male. I produced this guy, and so anyways, he was very red as a baby, so I kept him back, but he kind of hates my guts a little bit. I don't know why I feed him and take care of him, but he still doesn't like me, so. And then this is actually, this is a hypo from the Hannum projects, actually, and I know that it looks so different than probably what you're used to seeing out of the Hannum stuff. But this was from the Hannum project, and so I've been growing him up, and he's just super interesting. He has like so much more yellow and just like none of the purple or blue in him. And so anyways, so we'll keep seeing what happens there. He does have like that typical, the orange head though and stuff, that a lot of the Hannums have, but just none of the other coloration. So that Hannum stuff is just interesting. But anyways, so, and, it's just a Kankakee. That's that other female. So, anyways, I think that's most of the males besides the leucistic and stuff. So, there's just a couple of males that I was hoping to maybe get to, be able to use too. Cause I only like to do like one male to maybe 3 females max usually. If I spread males thinner than that, especially when they're super young, like these guys I might only pair to like maybe 2 females. And so anyways, but if you spread them too thin, then it doesn't really work out. So.
But you can still use males that aren't cycled, right? We've done that before.
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of people that don't cycle any of their snakes at all, and they still get fertile clutches every year, and it's no problem. Because some people in states, where they don't really have real winters, it's a lot harder to actually get them cool enough and stuff. So I know a couple breeders in Florida that don't really cycle their animals very much, or I think I even know a couple, maybe in some parts of Texas that really don't, and then California, Arizona, like some of those really warm states where it's hard to get it to actually cool down. But I personally do, one, because I like the break from feeding, to be honest. It's obvious, right? It saves you some money. And so taking the break from feeding is nice for the checkbook. And it's also nice to, put 100 snakes down and not really have to worry about them for a few months. It cuts down on the workload a lot too. And it does help us at least get successful clutches the following, brooding season. And so we're going to keep doing it, and we're going to keep cycling here at Summer Snakes. But it's probably not necessary 100%. I know lots of people have success without doing it.
So we're trying to do it this year with our young ones that we normally don't put down to try and increase the success rate.
Right. So in the past, I have attempted to breed big enough, 3-year-olds, because they were huge. Some of these 3-year-olds are obviously big enough. And so I have attempted it in the past, and honestly, my success rate for the 3-year-olds producing was probably like, for the females anyway, it's probably like 20% or less. Like most of them just didn't want to like cycle and lay eggs, which is totally fine. But I'm gonna start pulling this out and moving it. I should keep talking. In terms of the males though, the 3-year-old males that I didn't cycle though, they like never wanted to breed at all. So I definitely think that this will help the males a lot. Hopefully actually like want to like breed. And so there's only a couple males, but we'll test it out, you know. But in the past, the young males have like never really wanted to breed, and so that's been a bummer. But hopefully more of these females will also want to lay eggs, lay clutches, right? And so hopefully the success rate will go more up to like 50%. But also, if I don't feel good about it, I'm not going to push them. Alright, so pull this one up here, and then we're going to go through the office area over to the other side where brumation is. So I'll probably need your help really quick.
Yep.
Just line that up. Alright. And then we'll just wheel on through here. You know, probably one of the nice things about the fact that these snakes are in these racks right now and not those big CB70s is these ones fit through doorways. It makes it super, super nice. So, anyways. Today's a great day for this because it's actually pretty cold outside. It's snowing, so. Yeah, we woke up to that this morning. It was nice. Oh yeah, it's way colder in here.
Guys are getting a mini facility tour.
Yeah, I know, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's like really dark over here though, so sorry. The lighting might be kind of bad. There's a switch up there if you want to hit it. But anyway.
I'll grab it.
There you go, that's a little bit more. Alright, so then this is that other office where everybody's sleeping, so we're just gonna like quietly sneak them in here, okay? Otherwise we're gonna wake them all up. I think the important thing to remember though is that while I am putting these guys down, if I like really feel that they're not quite big enough to produce after I bring them back out, or like if they don't put on really good weight and stuff like that and I just don't really like it, then I'm not gonna like force them. And so, cause even when they're young, like they just might not really be ready, and that's totally fine. But it'll still give them a little brumation, and that's not a big deal because that's what they would normally do anyway. And lots of other breeders actually brumate all their stuff, even their babies. And so I don't do that. I keep feeding mine all through winter. And they keep eating all through winter. And I really think that ours continue eating because our room stays like very consistent in temperature, to be honest. And so we keep this snake room, I think it's set at like 74 right now in here. And so it stays like pretty warm in here through winter time. And so I think that's probably why none of my snakes really go off food unless I move them. I don't know. I mean, there's a dark axanthic pattern in this.
Oh yeah. Compare that one to the earlier one.
Yeah, that other male. Yeah. This is a female, and she's a year older than him. But, so she's actually a 4-year-old. Some of those other ones I showed were 4-year-olds. I just gave them, like I said, an extra year, just because. Well, and plus, I didn't really know what to breed them to last year either. So, anyways. I know we've showed her a couple of times. That's that Hannum female, the white side. She's super pretty, but. She's in the blue? No. No, not in the blue. Just hanging out. But, yeah, anyway, I don't know. Then I think just the Kankakee at the bottom. So, and I know she looks small, and I'm not actually planning on breeding her this year, I don't think, so I'm not gonna pressure her into going, but since I'm taking all of these guys, these guys are all the guys that eat small rats right now. And so I'm just putting all of the ones that eat small rats down so that I don't have to feed off any small rats right now to my stuff. So, you know, saves me a couple bucks a snake, basically. So, anyways. But, yeah. Although I would love it if that Kankakee could produce because, you know, I lost my Kankakee female last year. So, anyways, but that's okay. So, it'll be really interesting, though, to see if, I'll have to look at, like, my past success rates with, like, young females producing. I have actually, one time I had a 2-year-old female that was seriously, like, this thick and, like, 5.5 feet long. She produced as a 2-year-old. And the crazy thing is I don't really power feed. I seriously only bring food in the room once a week, and I feed them. Occasionally they'll get like 2 food items per feeding, but I don't feed any adult something bigger than a medium rat. And even a lot of the other adults eat not larges, smalls. And so anyway, so like, I don't really power feed, but she grew so fast. She must have like some crazy genetics or something behind her. I'm not really sure. But she grew like so fast, so like crazy. The male I got with her obviously was not ready to breed her, so I bred her to a different male. Which is actually, the funny thing is that clutch when she was 2 years old is this clutch here. So that's that raspberry male. It was her. That was mom. So mom was a snow, and she just grew so fast. It was crazy. So, but I will say that she looked like she was gonna lay eggs either way. And so I was worried. So I put a male in late. And it was a hypo whiteside. And so I put that male in really late, and he was a proven male. So like I knew that he would probably be able to breed her and get her. And so, they did end up locking up and stuff, but she still only laid, I think there was only 7 fertile eggs in that whole clutch. I think there was as many as a dozen eggs, but only 7 were good. And so anyways, that was the youngest female I've ever had go, which is crazy, and I wouldn't really recommend that. Just, I didn't want her to slug out completely, because I've heard and also somewhat experienced, slugs are harder for the females to like move through the oviduct, which seems silly because they're smaller. But if you guys have ever like touched a slug, an infertile egg, it feels completely different than a fertile egg. And so they don't slip through the oviduct as easily. And so anyways, and so, you know, I did that, and she got all the eggs out just fine. Like, it was no problem. But yeah, I've never done that again. I was like, no, I'm never even gonna think about it until they're minimum of 3 years old. And I mostly just go off of size too. I don't weigh any of my snakes. A lot of people ask me that, but I don't weigh my snakes at all. So I just go off of how big they look, how they're behaving, things like that. So if I was to guess a weight, I don't even know what I would guess. So let's go sneak these over there too. And then I know some people might ask, so I'll just talk about it really quick, is like my males. I have tried breeding 3-year-old males in the past. And I found that most of my 3-year-old males don't want to breed yet. They're just not interested. And so I'm hoping that maybe by cycling some of these 3-year-olds, they'll actually want to breed. And so it'll be interesting to see if they're actually more interested in it if they get put down when they're 3 years old. We'll find out. But most of my males have to at least be cycled to be interested. And at that point, it's usually been when they're 4 years old. So, especially the San Diego Gophers. Those males do not want to breed young, ever. Alright, well, I just got them put in there. That room is the fullest it's ever been. There's so many racks of snakes in there, it's funny. So anyways, we're gonna leave those for 3 weeks and then we'll come back and we'll get them. And hopefully we find some good success out of that this breeding season. So anyways, thanks for watching and make sure you like and subscribe and we'll see you guys next time.